Don Chumay in the live. All right, let's head to Main Street Brewing.
Yeah, here at Main Street Brewing, and we've got Nigel, we've got Cameron, what, lifelong friends here, and you decide to start up a beer?
Pretty close. Feels like a lifelong anyways. Yeah.
So we're talking about beer this morning, and who doesn't like a good beer in the morning, and the different kinds, because many people might not necessarily realize that there's such a difference in the different kinds of beers, and especially something like a Pilsner, where back in my youth, that was like a brand that you just kind of went, okay, cheap beer.
Yeah, this is not your grandfather's Pilsner. This is, it's got a little bit of a hop characteristic to it, so a little bit of bitterness to it. That's what gives it a nice, clean, crisp finish. It's one of our staples. The next one here, this is our Session IPA. So this is a 4.8% North American style pale ale. A bit more hop to this one. This is 55 IBUs.
When you say 4.8%, what is the typical alcohol content of an average beer?
Usually around 5.
Okay, so
but, there's a lot of IPAs that are more like a 6.5%, 7%.
Okay, this is looks like a meal in itself.
That is a meal. Yeah, we're gonna have that one right away. We're gonna add some cream to that. That's our coffee. That is our Stag and Pheasant Stout. That just came out last week. Last week, yeah. 9% alcohol.
You gotta like beer a lot to have this kind, as opposed to something that's a bit lighter.
These are. Let's sit down and have a few beers.
Okay.
This is. I've had a few beers. Let me finish my night.
And what about our final one here?
That is our Westminster Brown Ale. So that is 6%. And it's a fantastic beer.
You know, and we're so used to different kinds of wine to know that there's so many different varieties of beer, and they have their own tasting notes, as we've just heard. What are we brewing today, quickly, before we go back to Riaz?
Our Session IPA.
We're brewing the Session IPA this morning, Riaz, here at Main Street Brewing. For more details on where they are and their tasting room, and of course tours, you can check out their website. I'm thinking the meal. Go for the stout. All right. Yeah, and I made a little bit of a joke saying we lost another scientist to beer, but not really, Jack, because you have like this very extensive science background.
I studied physics and astronomy and mathematics, yeah, and actually taught physics for about 7 years.
So for all the kids that are out there that are watching and thinking, what am I going to do with science?
Here you go. This is it. Yeah, who knew?
So obviously this is a very scientific thing, making beer.
Absolutely. A lot more chemistry than I wish I'd taken more chemistry in high school than physics, but yeah, absolutely.
So we're inside, what do you call this? Is this like the brewery?
This would be the brew house,
okay.
And then this is sort of fermenting and conditioning over here.
So these fermenters, how many do you have here?
There's 6. So these 2 big ones that you can see here are new. They actually came through the skylight just over there about 2 months ago.
Wow.
Yep.
And you're brewing right now what?
We're brewing our Session IPA today.
Okay.
So that is sitting in the mash tun right now, and we'll be lautering that in the next step to move that to the brew kettle.
Excellent. Okay, so we know that everything's fermenting right now in the fermenters. Let's talk testing the gravity. That is very scientific.
It is, absolutely, yeah. So we're basically checking how far along the fermentation is on this particular batch, which we brewed last Friday.
Okay.
So this is a different beer that is yet to be named and released, but an amber ale with lots of Australian hops, and by checking the density of the wort, that's what that is wort, is not beer yet, we can figure out how far along it is.
So what are we learning right now?
So we're going to see here, lose a little bit of foam for you. We're going to see that this beer is about halfway along as far as fermentation goes. So what's going to be over a 6% beer is about 3% ABV at this point. So it would still taste really sweet and bitter and kind of out of whack, but we're about halfway there.
Fantastic. Okay, we are going to continue on here at Main Street Brewing with the next process. We're here at Main Street Brewing, which is at 261 East 7, so just off Main. And boy, we're having lots of fun here making beer. How many kinds of beer do you have here?
We've got about 6 on tap right now, and 4 separate types that are on Beer Engine, which is an English style sort of pour.
And now we're kind of going through the next stage. So we saw the mash as we went back to break, and maybe we can show people what that looks like again. Kind of describe it. It's almost like oatmeal, isn't it?
So that's malted barley for the most part that
okay.
we've mashed with hot water to try and turn that starch into sugar. So that's the whole idea, is that then that sugar can be turned into alcohol by the yeast.
Okay, so once we get from the mash stage, what's the next process?
So now that we've recirculated that for about 20 minutes, we're now going to start pumping that
okay.
liquid, that sweet wort, into the brew kettle.
All right, and the brew kettle is right over there, so Nelson can show that. I know that you have to do some switching around.
I'm going to switch this over on the diverter panel, and it will appear in the brew kettle.
So while you're doing that, just a couple questions. As far as the different kinds of beer you have, you're always creating. Where do you get your inspiration from?
There's so many tasty beers around. It is part of the job, believe it or not, to go around and sample beer and see what you like and develop what sort of flavors you're into.
Nice job. So Nelson is showing inside the brew kettle. So at what point from here does it become a beer that we can start to drink?
So it depends upon whether it's a lager or an ale and whether it's dry hop. But I mean, the short answer is sort of 3 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
So this one today will probably be on tap in about a month. Because it's also dry hop, meaning we put hops in the fermenter once fermentation is done. So it takes sort of an extra week there. But yeah, about a month from now, you can come and sit and have a pint.
Now, for anyone that comes to one of the beer tours, because I know you offer those, and could be a great stocking stuffer, by the way, for the beer lover in your life, what kinds of things will people learn?
We'll walk them through the whole process. So we get to see the whole brewery from milling grain all the way through to the end product, and then sit down and sample a few at the end.
By the way, people can still get those last-minute gifts, right,
They
Nigel?
can indeed. We have a large selection available here at Main Street.
You're looking very stylish with your
Thank you,
beautiful
with my
scarf.
Main Street scarf. Yes, you like this?
I like
Yep.
that. What else do you have for the beer lover?
Well, obviously we have our Susie koozies here. Keep your hands warm during winter.
We got to show people how that's working,
Yeah.
because right now it looks like a regular mitten, but what it is, I love it. Awesome.
Allows you to drink and stay warm at the same time.
Sure does. What else do you have?
We have our selection. We've got our growlers here. So if you need a growler for your loved one, you can come up here, get a growler fill card or a gift certificate.
How does that work with growlers for people that don't quite know about those?
So you buy the vessel itself, so the growler here.
Yep.
We have these logoed ones, so we have these special Christmas ones.
Okay.
And you bring them in, and we fill them with beer. So you pay for the vessel once, and then that's it.
It's
Yep.
like the gift that keeps giving.
And then for the more stylish of them out there, we have our stainless steel growlers available with our bike holders. So this you can put on your bike and then carry it around with you.
But that's just to get to your final destination. We're not
Exactly.
encouraging biking and
Not
drinking.
at all.
And back in the day where people actually used beer on their hair to make it shiny.
Exactly, yeah. We're working with a local artisan soap maker, and she's made us some beard soap.
I love it.
Which is-
Fantastic.
yeah.
Thanks, Nigel. Okay, Cameron. Also, we've been giving people a little bit of a preview of a tour, but you actually offer those for people.
We do offer tours, and there's a couple of companies around town that are picking people up and bringing them down to different breweries and bringing them in here, groups of 10, 12, 15. Excellent Christmas idea.
Perfect. And I like how you're not quite prepared to give anything up here either. What other kinds of things do we have?
We've got some fancy dancy coasters here. These are made out of recycled beer bottles.
Oh.
And you can get, what's that, 6 points there for that one.
I love it. Come on over here, Nigel. We wish you the very best this Christmas. We also want to remind people, too, to make sure they get home safely, Riaz. You know, we've been talking about beer. I'm not going to lie. Beer for breakfast is not a bad thing when you're on breakfast television, but I also will be getting a safe ride home. Again, get home safely this holiday season. They're open Christmas Eve, so great chance for get those last-minute gifts. I'm not slurring. Honestly, I'm not, Riaz.
Apparently it's happy hour here on breakfast television.